Hello, it's David from my bookshelf, and this is my Fragment Friday for this week. Fragment Friday is hosted by James at Book Chic Club, and you can find a link to his blog in my post. This week's Fragment Friday is going to be coming from Gail Carriger's Blameless. This is the third book in the Alexia Terabati series, or the Parasol Protectorate series, depending on which name you go by. Um, the first book was Soulless, the second one is Changeless, this new one, book 3, is called Blameless. If you have not had a chance to read these books, you have to, because they are hysterical. Um, it's a steampunk comedy, mystery, fantasy, Victorian story, and it's got vampires and ghosts and werewolves, and it's freaking hysterical. I love Gail Carriger. I would love to meet her someday, and yeah. So anyway, so I'm going to read a little bit from Blameless. I'm actually at chapter 10, in which Alexia meddles with silent Italians. Um, thing is, I don't actually know if this is too spoilerific or not in this section, so I'm just going to read you a little bit. I don't even really want to give you too much history on it, because you should read it and catch up to this point, because these books are absolutely worth it. So anyway, chapter 10 of Blameless, in which Alexia meddles with silent Italians. Lady Alexia Macon did not, of course, realize that they were Templars until she awoke, and even then there was a lengthy adjustment period. It took her several long moments to discover that she was, in fact, not exactly a prisoner, but relaxing in the guest quarters of a lavish residence located in, if the view from the window was to be believed, some equally lavish Italian city. The room had a delightful southern aspect, and a cheerful spray of sunlight danced over plush furnishing and frescoed walls. Alexia tumbled out of bed only to find she had been stripped and redressed in a nightgown of such frilliness as might have been given her husband conniption fits under other circumstances. She wasn't comfortable with either the notion of a stranger seeing her in the buff nor the copious frills, but she supposed a silly nightgown was better than nothing at all. She soon discovered she had also been provided with a dressing gown of velvet-lined brocade and a pair of fluffy bed slippers. Her dispatch case and parasol, apparently unmolested, sat on a large pink pouf to one side of her bed. Figuring that any person of refined sensibility would have burned her unfortunate claret-colored gown by now, and finding no more respectable attire anywhere in the room, Alexia donned the robe, grabbed her parasol, and stuck her head cautiously out into the hallway. The hall provided itself to be more of a large vestibule, covered in thick carpets and lined with a number of religious effigies. The humble cross appeared to be a particularly popular motif. Alexia spotted a massive gold statue of a pious-looking saint sporting jade flowers in his hair and ruby sandals. She began to wonder if she was inside some kind of church or museum. Did churches have guest bedrooms? She had no idea. Having no soul to save, Alexia had always considered religious matters outside her particular sphere of influence and therefore interest. All unbidden, her stomach registered its utter emptiness, and the infant inconvenience sloshed about sympathetically. Alexia sniffed the air. A delicious smell emanated from somewhere close by. Alexia had decent eyesight and adequate hearing, although she had been remarkably capable of tuning out her husband's voice. But it was her sense of smell that set her apart from ordinary mankind. She attributed this to her oversized nose. Whatever the case, it stood her in good stead this particular day, for it led her unerringly down a side hallway, through a wide reception chamber, and out into a massive courtyard where a multitude of men were gathered about long tables to eat. Imagine that, eating outside and not for a picnic. Alexia paused on the threshold, unsure. An assembly of masculinity, and her in only a dressing gown. Such a danger as this she had never before had to face. She braced herself against the horror of it all. Here's hoping my mother never gets wind of this. The seated masses made for a bizarrely silent assembly. Hand gestures were the main method of communication. Seated at the head of one of the tables, a single somberly dressed monk read unintelligible Latin out of a Bible in a monotonous tone. To a man, the silent eaters were darkly tanned and dressed respectably but not expensively in the kind of tweedy, heavy, country garb young men about the hunt might favor: knickerbockers, vests, and boots. They were also armed to the teeth. At breakfast, it was disconcerting to say the least. Alexia swallowed nervously and stepped out into the courtyard. So there you have it, just a little snippet of um, Gail Carriger's Blameless. Like I said, this is book 3. If you have not read these yet, um, I really can't recommend them more. They're hysterical. They make me laugh. So you want to go out and find book 1, Soulless. Um, book 2 is Changeless. Book 3 is Blameless. And you'll see the theme in the names here. Book 4, which I think is due out sometime next year, is Heartless. So get out there, read some Soulless. You won't be sorry. And until next week, happy reading, everybody.